can record. Great. So we have Evie Rich, Neil Frumpkin from DC-37, and Lizette Colon. Evie and Lizette are from the PSC. Neil, as I mentioned, is from DC-37, and they're each going to speak for around 7 minutes, and then we'll open it up to a very kind of informal conversation Q&A session. Just some introductions here. Evie is a retired educator, a longtime activist. She was teacher, principal, and associate dean, Hunter College, and she is executive director for NYC Americans for Democratic Action. Did I get that right?
Okay.
Fabulous. And then I have Neil here, who worked for New York City for 34 years before retiring in 2002. He was a member of SSEU Local 371. Most of those years, he was a shop steward, active in various rank and file causes. He participated in activities of welfare client struggles and various anti-racist, anti-sexist struggles during that time. We are very happy to have him here. Upon retirement, he became active in DC-37's Retirees Association and has been officer of the association as the VP of Interviewing Relations, or Associate VP for most of that time. He was recently suspended from that position by AFSCME, possibly because of the association's strong stand in the Medicare Disadvantage struggle. And we'll maybe be hearing some more about that when he speaks. And then lastly, but not least, there is Lizette, who is also PSC and was hostess chapter chair for many years. For some reason I can't find your bio.
Don't worry.
Okay. Well, maybe you can speak a bit about your experience with PSC.
I was a counselor and many other things, and I worked at OSOS for 41 years.
For 41 years. So we have a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge here.
Let me just point that out.
She started when she was 3 years old.
Okay. And Evie, do you mind just testing the mic to make sure Zoom people can hear you?
Good afternoon.
I'm
Evie Rich. I'm
Sounds
happy to be here.
Great. Go ahead, Evie. Yeah, take it away.
Okay. Good afternoon. I want to tell you that I have 5 degrees. I have a bachelor's, I have 2 master's degrees, I have a PhD, and then I have the best degree. That's my degree from the School of Hard Knocks. And I want to tell you today that that's the best, most effective degree I have. It was conferred on me by my mother, who said to me, when she gave it to me, you have to stand up for right and justice. And when you do, never look around. So we're here today to talk to you about this struggle for right and justice, which has motivated me for 91 years, because Saturday is my birthday. All right, now I have done a lot of things in my lifetime to make this world a better place. And that started when I was in college, all right? And I joined a student group called Students for Democratic Action right after World War II. And it was led by stellar scholars in the movement that was like the non-communist left. And since then, I have really honed my skills of analysis and picketing and demonstrations. And so we're here today to tell you about this last step in this struggle. Healthcare is the issue of our time. And the time has come for us as residents of this industrialized country to bring health care, comprehensive, quality health care to every resident in this country. And in the time we have here, we're going to talk about how we came to this place and how we can do that. Now, we came to this place first in 1965 as a result of the civil rights movement when Congress passed Medicare. And Medicare was one of the singular stellar results of the civil rights movement. And since then, Medicare has covered residents of this country who are 65 years old or more. Well, we had a mayor named de Blasio who decided that he was going to make a deal with the labor unions in this city and take retirees from traditional Medicare and put us in what he called the Medicare Advantage program, which would save New York City allegedly $600 million. Now, I will tell you, we're not here to talk about why that figure doesn't work. But I will say that $600 million is 0.6% of the New York City budget, which is $109 billion. Now, traditional Medicare gives me, as a resident in this city, access to quality health care. And I can go to any doctor who accepts Medicare. And when that doctor decides, in consultation with me, that I need this, this, and this, I have access to this, this, and this. But this Medicare Advantage program that now Mayor Adams wants to transfer me into will have a limited network of doctors, has prior authorizations for treatments, may decide to delay or deny care, and I might even die waiting for this approval. So I am saying to you, I represent 250,000 municipal retirees, an additional 100,000 dependents who earned, deserve, need quality health care. Now, how are we going to do that? Well, we have resisted to the shock of Mayor Adams and his administration. And I have here one of my colleagues who is leading that resistance. In the question and answer period, when we come back, you can ask me about the nuances of Medicare and Medicare Advantage. But I want to turn this program over to a man whom I admire and respect, who shows the leadership that the union leaders in this city who control the healthcare, they don't have that. They have lost their vision. I'm talking about Garrido, who's head of DC-37, the largest union in this city. I'm talking about Michael Mulgrew, the president of the United Federation of Teachers, the second largest union in this city. I'm talking about Greg Floyd, head of Teamster Local 235, a big union. I'm talking about Henry Nespoli of the sanitation workers. Now, there are others, and we will talk about them in the question and answer period, but they're on the wrong side, okay? And DC-37 retirees, these old people, old, retired, but not tired, are leading this struggle. And so let me introduce Neil Frumpkin, who's going to tell you what he's doing. Go for it, Neil.
Thank you very much. This is a mutual fan club over here, and we have met in the course of struggle, which is a great place to meet people. And you find like-minded folks who are principled, have energy, and have a view of the future, which is a bright and rosy future, as opposed to a future, a dystopian future where things get worse and worse. I want to talk a little bit about how I came to understand what was going on. In addition to my positions within the Retirees Association, I'm also a trustee in DC-37's Health and Security. And in that capacity, every year we have to evaluate the level of benefits that we are able to provide for 220 or 25,000 DC-37 actives and 55,000 DC-37 retirees who are covered by that benefit plan. And what we saw with the cost of prescription drugs going up by about 10% per year, and new drugs coming on the market, coming on at prices which were incredible. Medications for hepatitis C, which cost $1,000 a pill. You know, these medications were not affordable. And the entire health system in this country, and certainly in New York, it was similar. The costs of healthcare were going up 10% a year as well. So this was a broken system that could not exist in the same old way over time. What we came to realize, I had a proposal that I brought to Henry Garrido, the head of DC-37, for us leading a campaign which I called "The Cost of Drugs Are Too Damn High," sort of a takeoff of that young man who ran for mayor. The rents are too damn high. And we urged that DC-37 get behind this because it was an issue that would unite union workers and workers who are not in unions. They don't have that bargaining protection that we had. But we all face this commonality of needing healthcare, needing prescription drugs to meet our needs, etc. And that didn't fly, didn't go anywhere. But what we came to understand was that organizations like the Citizens Budget Commission were lobbying both the politicians in the city and the unions to say that workers were getting too much. The cost of healthcare was too much. Something had to be done. And this became the genesis for the attack on retiree health benefits. And I believe, and this is aimed at the younger folks who have not yet reached that stage of life called retirement, they're coming for you. Right now, there is a RFP, request for proposals, for health benefits for active and pre-Medicare retirees, which is probably about 300,000 people in the city of New York. And they want to lower the cost. They want to lower the cost by 10%. They want to include prescription drugs that are right now covered in what's called the PICA program, P-I-C-A, which are high-cost drugs that were taken out of union welfare funds. That benefit, that PICA program runs about $500 million a year. So you might ask yourself, how is the city of New York going to have a health benefit for current workers, their dependents, and pre-Medicare eligible retirees that both saves 10% of the cost, covers $500 million in drug costs that they didn't have to cover before, and be as good a quality health insurance. Some people might think that can't be done. I would be among that cohort. You can't do better with less, just impossible. What you can do is squeeze and squeeze in benefits and cut back. And that's what I think will happen for actives. It is something that I think David was talking about in terms of Medicare Disadvantage plan. It's a for-profit plan. And if they don't make the kind of profits they're looking, they have a solution ready at hand. And that is cut benefits for those of us who would be in that type of program, as opposed to traditional Medicare, which is not for profit, which has a low overhead. And we know that the Medicare Disadvantage plans have a high overhead, must guarantee profits to their shareholders, and are not in business to guarantee us health. They're in business for profits. That's their reason for existence. So the Retirees Association got wind of what was going on. We sat in some of the meetings.
The DC-37.
DC-37 Retirees Association, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Shorthand on my part. I'm not in the other associations. We heard about it in meetings of DC-37 in the executive board, in the delegates assembly, and guess what? We decided to make all this news public. Folks in PSC found out about it because we shared the information, told people what's going on, where the danger was, because we need transparency in the union movement. We don't need an opaque system where a few people are aware of what's going on and the rest know nothing. Most active people right now whose health care is being negotiated don't have a clue as to what those changes will be. You don't know whether or not there will be, for example, tiered systems of hospitals that you can go to, where some hospitals you will have to pay higher copays or be denied the ability to go to those hospitals at all. You don't know whether certain urgent care facilities will have higher copays if you choose to go to, for example, CityMD. Let me just say, in terms of the hospitals, just for illustration, Columbia Presbyterian, the Montefiore system in the Bronx are amongst the pricier hospital systems in New York. They may be in a tier that some people won't be able to afford. CityMD and urgent care facilities that are ubiquitous around the city have higher costs. That might be in a higher tier. I don't know. I know this was discussed within the MLC because there are, how shall I call them, flies on the wall at those meetings who have whispered in the ears of some people to tell what is going on at those meetings.
Neil, can you say what the MLC is?
Oh,
for
I'm sorry. The Municipal Labor Committee is an amalgam of unions who joined together in the 1970s to negotiate on behalf of all municipal workers after the fiscal crisis of the 70s was established. And it is led primarily by the UFT and District Council 37. Between those two groupings, they control about 2/3 of the vote. And smaller unions, and like the PSC is not a small union, but it is smaller compared to those two gorillas in the room, if you will, and they have to fall in line behind the majority because it's weighted vote, and the two biggest unions basically control the votes. So that's what that is. And they set patterns that all the other unions wind up following. And I think probably I've taken enough time and let me leave some for the other folks. Go ahead, Lisa.
But we would really like you to talk later on about.
People have questions, I'm
Yes,
happy to answer
yes.
whatever I can.
Well, I am, first of all, I want to reiterate our thanks to Zoe and the chapter of the Graduate Center for extending the invitation to us. At the PSC, Evie and myself, we are part of the safety network, and it has been a proposed goal to reach out to the actives, but we keep talking and talking about it and talking, and it hadn't happened. So finally, we're starting with you, and we are thankful for that. And we met, Evie and I met Zoe officially at one rally for the No More 24 Hours in the I a Woman campaign, supporting the home care attendants. So I think that that is commendable to see somebody from our union standing up for the workers outside there that are not unionized. So I thank you for that. And I thank you, the members here who attended the meeting today in person and the ones that are in the Zoom. I would like to say that, and I have some notes that I have taken. I retired in January of last year. And I retired after 41 years of service in which I was extremely involved with our union. I exuded, I felt PSC all the way. And I make sure to attend the rallies and be active and support them in every way. So when I became a retiree, I still thought that I was a union member. But sadly, through this battle, I have realized the fact that once you retired, you are not a union member because you're not part of the bargaining unit. Punto. You can consider yourself as a member, but you're not represented by them. So that is a truth that I was faced with, but it's also something good to know because that means that they should not be saying anything about my rights. And they should not be negotiating my rights because those are the ones that I have earned so far. And that is something that I would love people to understand, especially the soon to be retirees. And I understand that there are many, and they have passed, the past 2 or 3 years, a lot of people have retired from the university for all the reasons that we know as we work in the campuses. But when we are working, we are barely aware of all the things that are going behind doors in all those deals that the union leaders, the so-called union leaders, do on our behalf. So today we're here, first of all, and I think that Evie was the one who pointed that out. Let's make sure that in our presentation, we have a wake-up call to you as active members, to the people who are in the Zoom, but more than anything, for all of you to take an oath today with us to spread the information around. Because sadly, what happens is that we are so involved in our duties of day-to-day duties and the bread and butter. Okay, let me see how much I'm going to get from the raise. And we always end with 1% or 0.001% or 0.0001%. And then we keep fighting for that, and we forget the benefits of the healthcare, which is, like Evie said, it's essential. And maybe because you're young, most of you are young, you are not using the benefits as much. But once you start hitting this cusp, you realize that you need solid medical benefits as well as your beneficiaries. And that is what we are encountering now. We thought that when we were hired, we know that when we were hired, we were promised, you might not have a great salary, but at the end of your years as an employee in CUNY, you will count, and in the city of New York, you will count with the healthcare benefits. That's a promise, and promises are supposed to be kept, right? But sadly, that is not happening in the city of New York. They are not honoring that promise that they gave us. And more than a promise, those are benefits that all of you have earned. All of you have paid for it. So we should not be begging for us to keep them. Those are ours. And that should be, como dicen, stop. Full stop?
Full stop.
Full stop. And I think that is one thing that I would love you to take from here. Something else as PSC members in a campus. I was at the MLC forum this past Saturday, which was, I think it was an excellent forum, and I encourage you to go to the tape and hopefully Zoe will share with the members. And there was one young representative from DC-37, Mr. Coffey. Yeah, your local? Which is your local?
371.
371, let's play that number. 371, his name is Mr. Coffey, young guy. And he was emphasizing something that as a chapter chair, and I'm sure that Zoe does it too, and I hope that you too here at the Graduate Center, make sure that you develop connectivity between all of you. CUNY is becoming so impersonal. That's one of the reasons that I decided to retire, because during the pandemic, and it's so difficult to even organize.
Yeah.
You might have the best intentions, but it's just that we don't see each other. We barely know who has left or who has come in or who has been hired. So I think that you have to have an intention of making that kind of connection with the people around you, not only the faculty members, because sadly, CUNY tends to be very elitist, and PSC tends to be very elitist in terms of faculty here. Some faculty don't even know that there are HEOs, and they don't know even the meaning of HEOs, which are the professional staff, and they don't know what is the CLT, College Lab Technician, and we don't even know sometimes, and we should know at this point, that we are working along with not only PSC members, but with DC-37 members,
yes,
and 1199 members in the campus, as well as Teamsters. So what a perfect setting to organize. What a perfect setting to organize. But it takes time. And I know that we are like swallow in so many things that they keep asking us, especially now in the era of there's no 9 to 5. They keep demanding more and more of all of you. And I pity you, but you have to stand strong and do just 9 to 5 and then stop and then go with your life. But yes, it's true. But I think that another thing that I would love to find out, to make a call for action, is the fact that as retirees, and I don't know if that will, Neil has been more successful with DC-37, but whoever is a retiree and is listening to this, make sure that we can have our own way of communicating, because the PSC has made it very difficult for the retirees to have even a Google group or a listserv, and many of us has requested that. In order for us to organize, we have to know who has retired. We have to have access to the emails. And what is happening is that we don't know how to communicate among each other. So I hope that from today's meeting, whoever is in the chat, put in the chat, and I hope that Zoe can help us. Put in the chat your emails, even if you are not retirees, actives, because I think that this is the time to unite. Because just like Neil and Evie was saying, they're coming for you. They're coming for you. And one more thing, and we will go for questions. One thing that Neil mentioned was that they have been talking about changing all of you to a new plan. But this has been going on since 2022. And it's 2024. And now things are boiling even more. But we should have known since 2022. From the moment that somebody mentioned there is a possibility of a change, all of us, every single person in our union, the PSC, and all the unions should have known that kind of conversation. And there were articles, fine. But most of us, maybe we don't have time to, whatever reason, we don't find out. But in our chapters, we should look for ways to be educated, informed, so therefore we can organize. And I leave it there.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I add something?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so.
Here, let me hand you the mic, and maybe you can introduce yourself. Just
Sure.
so people on Zoom.
Okay, so I'm Lisa Flans, right? I retired from Queens College in 2017. I worked there 34 years as a film cinema arts librarian. Okay. Okay, so I hope that all the very brilliant actives and retirees, but mostly the actives, they need to understand the economics of this. And it's simple, it is not complicated. It has to do with value and inflation. Okay, you know, so you're gonna get a 3 or 5% raise. Like, do you know that that inflation is gonna bring that dollar value down, but the healthcare is priceless. You cannot put a price tag on it. So I really want all the smart actors to like just understand the very simple fact of cost benefit, or you know, inflation and value. It has to do with value, the meaning of value. You know.
Great.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Okay, so we are going to open it to questions either in the room or on the chat. If you're on Zoom and you have a question, you can raise your hand or put it in the chat and I'll read it out loud. Oh, I actually see there's a question already from Philip, and I can read it out loud and maybe you can choose who answers. So, are you familiar with Marianne Pizzatola, who is the president and founding member of the NYC Organization of Public Service Retirees? She has been leading the fight against Medicare Disadvantage. I don't know if any of you want to respond to that.
Can I talk a little bit
Yes.
about Marianne?
We all know Marianne.
We all should know Marianne. I alluded to the fact that resistance to this effort to put us in a Medicare Advantage program has grown. And Neil here, as the leader of the retirees of DC-37, is to be commended for the courage he has shown in this struggle. For example, the parent union, AFSCME, the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, has suspended his chapter because of its support for Marianne Pizzatola and the organization which she leads. So what organization is that, you ask? It is the New York City Organization of Public Service Retirees. It started out with 14 members and now has 250,000 members, little people like you and me. And we have shown Mayor Adams and his administration what it's like to fight back. This organization has led the litigation against the city, which has stopped Mayor Adams and his administration in its tracks. Were it not for this organization, we retirees would now be in this Medicare Advantage program where they are making billions of dollars on our backs, stealing from the Social Security Trust Fund. Of course, their ultimate goal is the destruction of public Medicare and Social Security. And as Lizette said, they are going after you next. And so that's why I'm thrilled that she's on this panel, because she worked day to day as a PSC leader, as well as a supporter of students. People don't appreciate the City University of New York and its branches. I have to tell you that. And we are the premier city in this country. And in large part, that is a result of the efforts of its employees. Employees who were promised that if they took lower salaries, worked longer hours, ultimately, when they retired, they would have access to quality health care all their lives until they died, all right? So now Mary Ann found this law firm, and we have sued the city. Let me tell you, first we kept them from transferring us into this Medicare Advantage program. Then we took them to court over the co-pays because they wanted us to pay $15 every time we saw a doctor, okay? And that's not all. Ultimately, the city wants to take away every element of healthcare that we have and shift it to these profit-making. Oh, I have to think of words to describe them and the way in which they take from us and pay themselves and their shareholders. So three cheers for Mary Ann Pizzacola. And we went to Albany. We went to Albany on Monday. This is just not a city issue. This is an issue that involves retirees around New York State. There are two bills in the state legislature, one in the Assembly, the other in the Senate, to guarantee that the health care that we had in 2021 persists forever, forever. And that's what we went up to Albany to lobby about. Now, we had a bill in the city council introduced by Charles Barron, which Adrian Adams, the leader of the city council, refused to let come to a vote. Now, Councilman Barron was defeated in his bid for re-election, and the bill now is in limbo. But we have found one person in the council who has indicated an interest in introducing that bill again. And Lizette and I are really pursuing another member of the city council to get him to sign on to it. We're talking about resistance to injustice. We're talking about standing up for right and justice. So I just want to say a few more things about what you can do. Now, Neil said the PSC is a little union. That's true. We have 30,000 members. We have 3,000 retirees. But let me tell you, a small group can do a big job. And that's what we're doing because we started the struggle in the Social Safety Net Committee of the PSC to fight this effort to transfer us into a Medicare Advantage program. And when we found out about it from a librarian who worked and retired from the CUNY Graduate Center, that's Bob Nelson. He's the one who alerted us. Let me tell you, I said to them, guys, this is our time, and we're gonna stand up for right and justice. I'm talking about my 4th degree, the one from the School of Hard Knocks.
The best one.
Okay, the best degree, okay. And since then, we have really begun what will be a long struggle to educate and involve a city against efforts to continue to subject citizens and residents to unfair treatment. And we're not going to take it anymore. Now, let me tell you what I think are some of the things you as members of the PSC chapter right here in the Graduate Center can do. Let me tell you, because I've been doing this for 73 years. I'm an experienced ticketer. I'm an experienced demonstrator. I'm an experienced troublemaker, all right? And I'm proud of it. Now, the first thing you need to do is to know who your elected officials are. I bet if I walk down the street and ask you, who's your city councilman? Who's your assembly person? Who's your state senator? Most people wouldn't know. We put those people there. They are working for us. We're not working for them.
Exactly.
And we need to educate them and tell them, you either represent us or find yourselves another job. And this is essentially what I am saying to Henry Garrido, the president, the executive director of DC-37. Mr. Garrido, your time has come and gone, and we are going to do something about it. All right. So that's the first thing. And then you got to make them know you. My city council person is Gail Brewer. I've known her for 20 years. She has a reputation for being a progressive. Well, I have not seen those kinds of actions in the past 10 years. And let me tell you, she knows it because I'm up there in her face all the time, and I'm not going to stop. Essentially, Zed and I went to a program that the League of Women Voters had. Lisa was there. Myra was there when they talked about women in politics. Well, women, there are more of us than there are the men. And we're going to show them that now it's our time to lead. All right. Now, that's just the beginning to know your representative. The second thing that I want you to do is to look at your hometown newspaper. I'm not talking about the New York Times. I'm not talking about the Daily News. I'm talking about these little neighborhood newspapers, because the people we need to reach don't read the New York Times. They don't, well, they might read the Daily News, but it's time for us to bombard them with information about what's going on. And so Lizette and I are working on this project we've identified about 80 local newspapers, like in Bensonhurst and in Bed-Stuy and Astoria and Richmond Hill. We've identified the publishers. We got a letter that we're going to send to them after we call them and say, hey, we want you to know who we are. We want you to look for our information. We want you to print it in your newspaper. All right. So we're going to use the media to help us tell our story. Now, another thing that you can do, and some of you are like me and Lizette, brown and Black people. We are the people most affected by this legislation. We will suffer in the Medicare Advantage program. So if they deny and delay care for you, most of you who are white, let me tell you what they would do to us while we're fighting back, all right? Brown and Black people need to know what's going on and to fight back. And I will say this again, the leaders in this struggle are brown and Black people.
But
Garrido, no, I'm talking about Garrido. I'm talking about Floyd.
Gloria Middleton.
Yeah.
Yes,
Middleton.
Gloria Middleton.
That's right.
She's a big one. All right. Now, so there's a real role for people like me to go into my Black community, for people like you who are members of the PSC, remembering that they're coming after you after they finish with us. They'll never finish with us. Anyway, it's time for us to really, really educate them. And where are we going to find them? Not in the New York Times. We're going to find them in the beauty parlors, in the barber shops, in the
The church.
supermarket.
In the churches.
In the churches,
Mhm.
yes. And so, listen, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Join us, join us.
It's not, for me, it's not work. It's fun, and I'm enjoying it, all right? Now,
Emmy, can you mention also the fact that we want the students to join us?
we
The
did like.
students of CUNY, the students of CUNY, the CUNY
Oh,
students.
yes.
She can
Well,
say it.
let me just
You
say,
can say it.
CUNY, in addition to being an educational institution, it is an economic development program. It really is. More than half the students, something like 70% of the students in CUNY are brown and black. That most of whom are working class, they work at night. I mean, they go to school at night because they go to work during the day. We have an opportunity to educate them and to bring them into our movement.
Yes.
Really, think about it.
Please.
CUNY has about 200,000 students. Do you know that? It's the biggest university in the country. And it's time for us to think of new ways in which to organize them and motivate them and energize them to work in this struggle. All right? Now, in conclusion, I have looked up to the Graduate Center of CUNY ever since I came to New York in 1956, okay? And I expect you as the representatives of the forefront of education to show what education really can be, all right? I really feel that way. Now, I guess it was Eugene Victor's, you know, where he said he was a organizer, a wonderful pioneer. He said, God and one make a majority. God and one make a majority. And where there is one person to fight the cause of freedom, there is hope. Okay. Now, you guys, ladies and gentlemen, you're the hope. All right?
Yes, you are.
And I want you out there. I want you to, Mayor Adams, he's afraid of me. I want him to be afraid of you. All right. I want him to understand that as our leader, he has a job to do, and if he doesn't do it, he's in big trouble.
Yes.
Big trouble. All right. So I thank you, Zoe, and you out there in this Zoom, and you here in this audience, for giving us the opportunity to show you a new way to bring more spice into your life.
Amen.
All right.
Emmy, could I add something to that? I'm sorry, Amy. Neil, you go. You go.
Well, I just wanted to, a couple suggestions, concrete suggestions.
Yeah.
It was alluded to the fact that I'm suspended from my position. I was not the head of the Retirees Association. I was one of the vice presidents, but I pushed for our association, the DC-37 Retiree Association, to contribute monthly to Marianne Pizziola's group, the New York City organization of public service retirees. We were giving $2,000 a month. And that was a big struggle in the organization because there were forces that didn't want us to do that. And we were threatened by AFSCME, who ultimately suspended the board and took over. And one of the first acts when they took over was stop the contributions to the fight against Medicare disadvantage. And I want to encourage folks here, active members of the PSC especially, to urge and demand that your dues money is used to fund that fight against this destruction of retiree health benefits and the coming destruction of active worker health benefits. Your dues money, it's your choice what that money is used for ultimately. And I think that you have to demand that it be used for what you need it to be used for, and that is protection of your health benefits. Evie was talking about some of the state and local initiatives, and I want you to understand there was a fight over a thing called 12-126. It's a part of the city administrative code of the city of New York, and what that did was establish a minimum in terms of costs that the city would guarantee that they would provide for health benefits for active and retired city workers. They wanted to amend that.
Where's the new computer where you can log into Prince?
So they could not be forced to guarantee those benefits. And what we need to do is make sure that those benefits are codified. But we could think of something else. It doesn't have to be done through collective bargaining like it exists now. You could change the way health benefits are provided in this country. It doesn't have to be employer sponsored. We're one of the few industrialized countries in the world. We may be the only one in terms of advanced economic powers in the world that doesn't have a government-run guaranteed healthcare system. We should be fighting for that. We should be fighting for that to make sure that everyone has access to quality health care. I met this young lady a few years ago at my favorite cookie store, Stella D'Oro, right?
Yeah.
Stella D'Oro, in a wonderful strike of a tremendous group of workers, men and women from all over the world. Literally, it was amazing to go up there and meet people from Greece, from Nigeria, from China, from Colombia. I could go on. It was quite the list. And people from India, from people who had come to this country with experience of fighting back in the country of their birth and brought that experience to that little cookie factory in the Bronx. And talk about men and women uniting. The men, some of the leaders were men. I think the shop stewards were all men, if I'm not mistaken. They were offered a deal where the men who were more skilled would get a certain raise, and the women who were mainly packers of the cookies into cartons would get less. They refused it. And so they were so ahead of their times in terms of sticking together, fighting back, taking up issues of internationalism, of gender equity, all kinds of things like that. That's where Lizette and I met on that picket line, because I was retired. I had plenty of time. I could go join any picket line I wanted. So I think, and Lizette brought people from her college campus. One of my old friends, Lenny, I think, was there. Anyway, I'm just saying that we need to reach out beyond the groups we're working with. We have to demand that our money that we've paid in union dues be used for what we need and for what the broader working class needs, and that our needs, healthcare, better schools, better housing, all these things should be fully funded, and we should make a juxtaposition between a country where there isn't a war to be found that they can't find money for, but they can't find money for our needs. So we have to think broadly, but we have to unite around these ideas and think about what kind of world we want to live in.
Could I just add something to that? And I'm so glad that you mentioned that. In terms of the PSC as actives, just keep pushing for that, for funding for organizations like New York City Organization for Public Service Retirees. It has been very difficult. A group of us has asked for it, and they have told us in a very paternalistic way, that's not possible. And even though you're asking for it, it cannot be. And I think that as members of this Bradbury Center, you can just lead us and show the PSC that they might be, we have leaders, but we are also leaders, the ones that rank and file. And they should be listening, not only for that issue, but for everything. Your voices should be heard and paid attention in every single matter in the University of CUNY. Okay, so please don't give up and keep pushing for that. Keep pushing for more involvement. And even if they tell you no, just ask them why. And if they tell you why and you're not satisfied, just ask again. And use people like your chapter leader, who's very progressive, to keep helping you to get to your goals. Because it's very difficult sometimes to have leaders, and then those leaders forget who elected them. So I think that you have to constantly be reminding them the purpose of having a union is all of us together, all of us, including the students and the community. Just like you mentioned, the communities that we represent should be in the forefront, and the needs of those communities as well. So thank you. Right.
Thank you. So we have put some links in the chat, and we have also put Lizette's email in the chat if anyone wants to contact her about organizing further. We also really suggest anyone on the Zoom call, you can add your emails to the chat and we'll collect them. We'll keep you updated on any developments. If we make a listserv, we can add you to it. Yes. Yeah, and we also have a clipboard over there for people in person to put their emails. Are there any questions, any more questions, either from Zoom or people in the audience?
And then, sorry to just ask something. We can also send you other organizations that have been also fighting for the traditional Medicare, the preservation. We have the New York, the group from Marianne Pesitola. We have also CROC. We have Conroe. We have other
trade unionists for traditional Medicare.
Yes. And the labor for traditional Medicare, like the one from Rayburn Key. So we will be able to send you all those lists so that you can really get involved. And sometimes it's just a matter of sending an e-letter that takes a second or maybe 2 seconds, but it makes a difference. And we have there a letter right now. I hope that you were able to put in the chat to President Biden to make sure that he preserves the traditional Medicare. If you could do that today and share with other people, that will be amazing. Thank you.
Any final questions? It's 2:10 now, so we have some time. Any questions from the room? Anything else, three of you?
One of the curious. So two of you are up to speed on your healthcare. I mean, otherwise, do you know, you realize how important healthcare is? It's, you know, when we were all young, we never thought we would get old, but guess what? It's gonna happen, and it's not fun, let me tell you. So that's, you know, we really want actives. We know you're young, and that's great, but you're gonna get old.
But that's wonderful, Lisa, that we're gonna get old. Don't feel bad, it's gonna happen, but it's fun. It's fine with it. Just be sure to be informed.
You know, you might get sick. You don't know what's gonna happen. So that's why we need actives to understand that the healthcare insurance is precious. It's really precious, and it's more valuable than money. It really is.
So I would like to just say something about the Bradbury Center because we're here.
You have so many majors that are relevant to our battle right now. Literature, I know that you were here, you identified yourself as somebody in the literature department. I don't know about you.
HEO.
You're here in what department?
Stone Center.
Huh?
It's a research center.
Research, so research. But we need people in every single area. You can help us. We need help with the websites. We need help with the social media. Those are things that we don't know how to do. And it would be fantastic if you could have some couple of hours in a week and then reach out to us and we will be able to assign you something to translate. There are so many things that you could do and we really, really, really welcome your input. So we're counting on you. I know that is too much pressure at this point, and also for the people that are in the Zoom, please reach out and get involved and do whatever you can. It's important.
And yes, just as I said, there is Lizette's email in the chat, so please don't hesitate to reach out. And our wonderful chapter secretary, Alicia, has been also putting in some links that people can access to get some more resources and more information.
Great.
So if there isn't,
There's a question in the chat.
Oh.
Who can see your messages recording on? Maybe can you answer that? Someone put it in.
Oh, no, that's just a notification.
Okay, very
okay, great. Well, thank you everyone for attending. We will save the recording, we'll upload it. So once we have it uploaded, hopefully you guys can all share it around your networks and everything. This has been so wonderful. Can we get a round of applause for our Thank you guys. All right. Thanks everyone and see you all soon. Let me see if I can save this.
This is the first time that I participate in something.